Okay, with Psy Reasoning, the Encarne Trilogy is the short film, the experimental film played at the Wild Sound Festival. Psy Reasoning, is that your
It's
on your
my
birth certificate?
performance and director name.
Okay, so it's not on your birth certificate.
Yeah, it's not.
How did you invent that name?
It has a long story that goes back to my punk years back in the 70s, where I was Sid at some point, and then I decided to throw in a bunch of letters, and it became SCZJD, Sid. And then at when I was lived in Hawaii for a while, I uh, was going to I changed my name somewhat in there and created a middle name, and the two initials ended up becoming Psy.
Okay,
It's
so
a
in
it's a, it's a, it's a
70s,
long dance in motion that just kind of.
70s you were a punk rocker?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
in Birmingham, Alabama, which was a fairly conservative area at the time, so we kind of stood out.
Yeah, something tells me it's still conservative.
Not really, not Birmingham.
Okay, I just think
Birmingham
of your
actually is a very, very creative area. There's a lot of stuff happening here. And really, if you know the history of Birmingham, you know that some of the people that have come from here and were formed from here were people like Sun Ra. If you're familiar, how well do you know your music?
Yeah, no, I totally, I sorry, I kick my because it's sort of a stereotype, I guess, right? Like down south, you're conservative, but like it's not. Obviously, in the urban cities, it's not so much the case, I guess.
Right. And in Birmingham, too, because of what happened in the civil rights movement back in the
Yeah,
60s, there's been drastic changes that happened in the city of Birmingham
yeah,
because of that. To the point that even things such as protests, if you are protesting in Birmingham, you actually are working with policemen who often are the sons or daughters of people who participated in the civil rights movement.
Mhm.
So it's a totally different vibe than you get from what I hear out in California and out west and stuff like that. It's not necessarily confrontational. I mean,
So, but when is there going to be a senator or a governor who's like on the Democratic side or on the left-leaning side in Alabama? Is that ever going to happen?
we actually have a former uh, a person right now, Doug Jones, who was a senator here from Alabama for a while, who was actually responsible for getting the first conviction of a KKK member for the crimes that they had committed at the
Yeah.
time. And actually got the first conviction because there was no convictions for the longest amount of time. And he actually got the first conviction and became a state senator. And
I'm talking
he's now
about
running for governor.
in the federal, or in the
Yes. Yeah.
governorship.
Now the governorship, he's running for governor right now.
He's running. Oh, is he really good?
Yes.
Does he have a chance?
Um, Well, I mean, you saw the election that happened last night, where in Trump's own Mar-a-Lago, they had a Democratic representative win in that particular county. So, you know, changing conditions, you never know how things go.
Yeah, you need that. I would pray for that. Just because it's like that's when you know that something's on the horizon. Anyway, sorry. Thanks for your
Yeah,
candor.
this may be all cut. I'm hoping. Didn't
No,
quite want to get into.
I'm really interested in though because I don't talk to people. I don't talk to many filmmakers from Alabama, right? So I'm so honored to receive your film. It's like because
Well,
it's yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Birmingham is actually becoming a kind of a hot spot for filmmakers. Did you ever see Everything Everywhere All at Once that won all the
Sure.
Academy
Yeah, of
Awards?
course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Birmingham filmmaker.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
No, I like to see that. Okay, no, but I'm saying that I want to see that from the independents, like films like yours. Like I want to see that. Like, is there a film school in there? Is there sort of a film community?
I can tell you, Birmingham is interesting. We're a kind of a medium-sized city,
Mhm.
and we were cut off during in the when you go back to the Wallace years, he literally cut off Birmingham, stopped the interstate from coming through Birmingham to try to slow the growth of Birmingham. Because at the time, Birmingham was really poised to grow, and all that growth went over to Atlanta. and it has its strengths and weaknesses
Yeah.
of what's happened because of that. So, because of that, Birmingham, a lot of times in cities like Atlanta that grow really quick, it tends to be made up of people who aren't from Atlanta that are actually doing the stuff. Because Birmingham was actually thwarted at that time, the people who live here still kind of have access to a lot of what happens here. As a matter of fact, one of the things about Birmingham is if you want something, if you want to see something, you have to make it happen yourself.
Yeah. No, I
And
see that. And there's certain growth that comes with that. But
yes,
that said, the people like if they're not getting funding or they're not getting a support and it takes a team to make a film, they're going to
right,
go some elsewhere. And a lot of them went to Atlanta, I guess, right?
right. Atlanta, New Orleans, Nashville,
But
maybe.
Atlanta is
Um,
like Atlanta is picking up.
right, but Birmingham is actually starting to grow right now. There's
Good.
a real big movement. Films are starting to be made over here, and there's a tremendous amount of talent here. And you probably saw some of that in the film itself. Um,
Let's get to your film then. It's a good
okay.
segue. So there's actually three films. So you kind of cheated a little bit in your submission, but I'll give you a pass because there really is three films here, right?
Well, there's a reason for that,
I
and
know
that
they're
is that.
thematically intertwined. I get it. Yeah.
Well,
So
it's more than just that they're intertwined. They
yeah,
were originally created as part of an international surrealist festival that was happening back in 2024. It was in four different cities: Birmingham, Alabama; Cairo, Egypt; Saint-Cirque-la-Popée, France; and Budapest, Hungary. And
that's four random countries that. Go ahead. I'm curious about this, but go ahead. Yeah.
well, I actually did a showing in Birmingham and in Saint-Cirque-la-Popée. And in Saint-Cirque-la-Popée, we did it at the summer home of André Breton on the 100th anniversary of his Manifesto of Surrealism. So that was, I mean, that was an honor itself to be able to do that. And it was one of the reasons that the films were created was for the opportunity to maybe be able to show it at the summer home of André Breton. And and so that's kind of where I actually started putting together footage that I've been kind of working on for some time. The story itself, I kind of used a familiar surrealist technique. If you look a lot of surrealist work that has come through, they'll also often take images that were from completely separate, different types of backgrounds and meanings, and then compose them in a completely different image
Hmm.
that it has its own meaning that is kind of somewhere between reality and the dream world.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how this film was created. I had shot at the 2018 Surrealist Festival in Birmingham, and Birmingham actually has a strong Surrealist community here. And that's not just in uh, uh, the arts itself, like paintings or various different forms uh, um, of the arts in that respect, but
Yeah.
also in music. There's a lot of crossover between a lot of the surrealist and different mediums with which they work, and mine also includes film.
All
Eh,
right. Go ahead.
Okay, so in 2018 we had a surrealist festival here, and we had this amazing dancer from Asheville, North Carolina, Sylvie, and she had done a piece, and my son jumped in on the piece. They'd done some work together, so they already had some camaraderie before. And so he just jumped in, and all the works that you see in the film were completely improvised. All of the different scenes, they're completely improvised, and this was one of them. And we had shot that, and my son, who was probably 12 at the time, held character for not just the entirety of the outdoor performance, but then when she started walking in and took it indoors while the other performers were doing some of their work, they held character. And I sat on that. Normally, I just release footage immediately after it comes out, but I felt like there was a story there. And I knew there was a story there. I just didn't know what it was. And I played around with it and I tried different types of things and I tried different combinations and I just wasn't happy with it. So I sat on it for years. So when this came up, LaDonna Smith, who's also in the film and an absolutely amazing improvisational musician and surrealist artist, when she basically said, "You've got to make these films." And so I was like, I told her, I was like, I was stuck. I've been trying to work on it, but I haven't really found it. So Sylvie came back into town. We did a couple of random skits in various different areas, including her farm, and where she had like a really gorgeous area with waterfalls and caves and stuff like that. And also in a bookstore, Jim Reed's bookstore, who is actually the brother of a person whose uh, performance name is the Reverend Fred Lane. If you know anything about the music in that area, which is
Yeah.
um, anyway, this is getting all over the
No, no,
place.
okay, so you have the so basically the pre before, the
Yes,
before, and then the in spirit archon incarnate. I don't know why I
yes,
have a problem with that word. In the in spirit incarnate.
yes.
So the music, let's talk about the music for a second. So you
Okay.
co-wrote some of the music, right?
Yes, the music was created by by me, my son, and one of his friends, Garrett Zinsmeister. And here's one of his high school friends. And where they used to just come over and we'd just sit down and pull out some instruments and would record. And I had like an old 70s stereo guitar that I had kind of specially made for me back in the 70s that I hadn't touched in maybe about 50 years.
Okay.
And then a very well-known Birmingham musician, improviser, Davy Williams, had passed. And so we had, and he was used to be in a band in New York, like Curlew. I don't know how well you know the Knitting Factory scene in New York at the time, but they're an amazing band. And anyway, but he was a very mainstay of the Birmingham improvisational scene. And when he passed, Madonna had come up to me and said, "We're having a Davy Williams guitar festival, and everybody has to play guitars." So I just pulled it out of mothballs and hadn't touched it for years. And so once I got on it, I started playing around with it. I added in MIDI instruments on top of the various, like two, three, four different MIDI instruments that I would play simultaneously with, including some percussion, with the guitar effects that I would also have on it at the same time.
So is this before the visuals? Is this before the
Yes,
visuals were made? This is just
right.
all, and you're thinking about the movie while you're doing the songs?
No, we were just creating, and
Okay.
I basically was able to adjust it and put it within the music to help carry the scenes themselves. But yes, I mean,
Wow.
everything about this process was improvised. The pieces that were, whether they were performed or whether they're parts of the life that I'd had from collecting and shooting films and stuff like that
Yeah.
over a period since maybe 2007.
But
Um,
there is structure involved. Like even when you're doing the music, like there must be some sort of idea before you improvise, I guess, right? Like there's
well, there
starting
actually
point.
there was none. We literally would just turn on the machine and
Yeah.
just start playing. And we had worked together enough where we could sense each other.
Gotcha.
And so that's the beautiful thing about improvisational music is that it really involves a lot of deep listening. And so there, when you have working with people that have you've gotten a connection with, you can basically ebb and flow and move and stop and start on a dime and stuff like that. And it's really it's an amazing thing. It's a completely different skill set than compositional work.
But then you're pressing record, I guess, right? Because it's like you can't repeat what you improvised, I guess.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. It is in that moment. That is what you have, and that is a reflection of that moment. But it also has a life of its own after it's been recorded.
But have you ever done something where like it was amazing, but you just didn't press the button and record it?
Oh yes. That happens a few times, and it's always the best stuff comes out that you miss out on when you don't hit the button.
Because you have to be in a certain environment. I know technology has evolved drastically in the last like couple decades, but still
Yeah.
you still have to be in an environment where the sound is picking up properly, right?
Well, I do have like a studio in my home,
That's what I
so
mean, that you have to be in the studio. You can't just
right, yeah.
yeah. in front of the television, let's just riff, right? Like you got to be somewhere where
Yeah.
the button can be pressed, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've got everything set all up, and I make sure I'll set up effects for the other instruments too sometimes, and then everyone plays around for a little bit to get an idea of what they have going in front of them, and then we hit the button and start.
So you did this with your son
Uh
and
huh.
his friend.
Yes.
They're both teenagers.
They were both teenagers, probably 16, 17 at the time.
And
So what is 2026? My son is getting ready to graduate high school this year. So if that was done back in the music may have been done 23, 24, maybe in that area.
so you
So
kind of age yourself a little bit. You said that you're in the 70s, so let's say you're in your 60s, right?
right.
So how are they like how's that relationship?
Oh, it's
Like
awesome.
yeah.
I mean, one of the advantages of being older when you have your child is that you don't have as many distractions and your own unfulfilled goals and stuff like that that you're dealing with when you're raising a child. So
Yeah.
I literally, when I released, when the business that I was in was sold, I just decided I'd become a house dad, and I helped take care of my son and help raise him.
So I was joking in another podcast. It's like you're in your 20s, you're less of a narcissist yeah, when you hit your 30s and 40s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just go through life and you learn stuff along the way, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah. No, I hear you. I
yeah,
get you. So
no,
then
he's an
you're
amazing kid, and he's an excellent improvisational musician.
yeah.
And my wife is an artist and a school teacher. She's teaches some of the academies and stuff like that, and so he's just grown up around art and music and all of that, and he just absorbed it. It's just so natural.
Yeah, that's amazing. But then you're like, do you like this generation that's coming up? A lot of people are worried about them.
Well, I can tell you, I generally most of the people I've met all up and down the generations have been good people, and they all have different skill sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody always worries about every new group of kids that crop up that are doing things differently than you are. I mean,
Well,
that's just
especially this
normal.
generation because it's like there's this huge invention that's been created and the world has drastically changed from the how we grew up, right? So,
Right, but I
yeah.
mean, that's the world was drastically different than when my dad grew up.
Yeah, but not in the same
I mean,
ballpark,
back
right?
when my dad grew up, racism was, just generally considered the
Yeah, I get
standard,
it. Yeah.
That's
No, but I guess from just from I think we're all the same. But it's just it's how what we're consuming, I guess, right?
Well, a lot of it is that every generation has their mark, everything that's different. I mean, as a young kid who like became obsessed with British music and the punk scene that was coming out in the early 70s in Birmingham, Alabama, where you're dealing with, things like Leonard Skinner and stuff like that was kind of the mainstay of the area. I mean, everyone tries to find their mark when you're a
You
kid.
teaching them that 70s music?
Actually, he loves going through my record collection.
That's
Brings all his
amazing.
friends over. They
Yeah.
start rummaging through it. And most of it's like late 70s, early 80s stuff when I was in college, high school,
Oh, early
college.
80s. Okay. All right. So you got the music, and then I'm assuming you have lots of improvisational music that you've recorded.
Hmm.
And so then when does the seed of this idea come from? Like I know you got kind of like pushed a little bit to get it nudged a little bit to get it done, but like where did this idea come from this film?
Well, like I said, I was stuck. And
Yeah.
so when we came and did a couple of skits, one at Jim Reed's bookstore and one at LaDonna's farm, and we did a bunch of improvised skits along those areas, I started finding the story. And the curious thing about it is that I did not do the story in chronological order as far as, how I put it together. I did the before first, and I was able to put together the before. And in the process of creating the before, I was able to get an idea of where I wanted the pre before to become. Because the pre before actually contained the footage from the 2018 festival. And the performance was so stunning that I tried for a long time to be able to separate it from its background so that I can do my vision that I wanted to do with it. And finally, DaVinci Resolve had developed to the point where I could do that right around this time. So I spent a lot of time really just crashing and learning how to do what I've been trying to do for probably, over a decade or close to it. And so I spent most of my time on the pre-before just because of the technical issues that I had to come
Yeah.
through with all of that.
It's almost a
Um,
contradiction, right? The first part,
do I know?
it's a contradiction, the pre before.
The pre-before, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I already created the before, and this all came before the before. So,
Yeah. The pre,
um,
it's like us in our, I guess in our mom's kind of tummies, I was going to be very like, very childlike about it. And basically like that's the pre before, I guess, right? Like, and then,
well, actually, the before is at the very end. If you see him circling around and then
yeah,
getting into the tunnel to come out, and then comes out as a baby,
yeah,
you know,
that's yeah. Well, who is the baby in the film?
that's my son.
Like back in the day, like you found
Yes.
like
So
old
I
videos?
pulled footage that I had shot from
Yeah,
him because I mean, I've been taking decades to develop my skills before I put some stuff out. So I've
yeah,
been investing in my own equipment, like I do in music. I never was taught film. I was never taught music. I would just had an interest, and I would invest in myself and get different types of instruments and different types of cameras and lenses and learning techniques and stuff along those lines. And so I went through a period of time just playing, recording, shooting, and gathering stuff along
yeah.
those lines. And a lot of this is some of the works in various different iterations as I was developing as a filmmaker, and some of the works I pulled from those.
And then who's the gold lady? I'm just being very basic with my the painted the painted naked lady.
That is Sylvie.
Yeah.
She's from Asheville, North Carolina. And my son and her had before that performance done something somewhat similar, but she was not, just in body paint. And that was the Birmingham Museum of Art. So they had some work that they had done before. If you actually go to my YouTube site, you can see the original performance that they had done together too, with a sound sculpture that was created by Hunter Bell, who also had created the sound sculptures in the film and the pre before.
Gotcha. And then your site is fresh slash dirt dot us
US, yeah.
dot yeah dot us yeah.
Yeah.
Canadian, we just say us. Yeah.
So it's us and
And
them, right?
yeah, not not yeah, not really us, but us. Yeah. Okay. You. Okay, so then you guys, so you can go to your website and you have all kinds of stuff, and then you have a link to your YouTube channel and all
Right.
kinds of videos, right?
Uh-huh. Well, if you go to, like, for instance, it's got a trailer there, and if you go to the trailer,
Yeah.
then you also, once you're in my site, you'll be able to kind of maneuver around because the trailer is sent to my YouTube site.
Yeah. And then you got all kinds of you got all kinds of pictures and everything like that.
All kinds of performances, not just mine, but other people who've come through East Village Arts, Birmingham, which is kind of a nice little place well, there's a lot of improvisational musical performances. There's all kinds of different types of art that is created there. It's a really great creative hotspot of Birmingham.
That's amazing. Okay, and then you got the location. So you got to use your son. I always curious about that thing that those babies you have in the video where like they're kind of confined in
Uh-huh.
that, and they got all kinds of like distractions.
Uh-huh.
It's like the cell phone for babies where like they got all kinds of buttons going on, right? But then they're like confined, they can't go anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know why.
actually,
I'm just yeah.
curiously enough, it's the opposite of that. He was held up as a baby and he could go anywhere with that thing. He could walk in
Yeah.
that thing.
See, look at me. I'm being the negative. I'm like they're just like they're stuck, right?
But I mean, it works in that way in the film
Yeah.
because you do have all these distractions,
Yeah.
and then we're speaking like this kind of nonsense language between the two of us as he's trying to take in all of the noise and distractions and things like that in his environment. And that's a lot of what you're dealing with in the in Spirit Incarne
Yeah.
is, waking up into the world and you've got all this noise and all these distractions and people trying to tell you stuff and you're trying to take it all in, all of the kind of conflicting and chaotic messaging and stuff like that that's going on as you're trying to settle your spirit into its physical form.
Yeah. I just subscribed to your YouTube channel. I think you need some more subscribers, so I gave you one.
What's that?
I said I just subscribed to your YouTube channel. I think you need some more subscribers, so I gave you one.
All right, there you go. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. So yeah, no, I like how you kind of and then you kind of did her creation. Lots of post-production work, I'm assuming, in some
Mhm.
of the scenes.
Yeah, like I said, the pre-before took a tremendous amount of
Yeah.
my time to make that happen. Mostly because the original background from it was noisy to begin with, lots of bricks and stuff like that. I had to really tighten up as best as I could. And I had to work with the fact that it's not a green screen. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like out in the public, in the open, outdoors. There was a bunch of stuff around. I had to try to fight off as much of it as I could. And because of that, there was a bit of in and out that comes out along with that. So I instead of fighting it, I decided to work with it. And by working with it, it kind of gave you the sense of the spirit kind of in and out and kind of trying to find its space within there as it was trying within the pre before, as it's kind of really forming itself also in the process of the trying to get into the creation. Now, I'm actually saying a lot more about the film than I normally like to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
No.
Because as a surrealist film, here's the problem with me really going into my thinking of what I'm trying to create as a filmmaker in this particular instance is that in a way it robs the viewer of their own take of what they see.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that you try to do I try to do as a filmmaker, I really like imagery without words so that you can take your time in and be able to decipher it within yourself instead of being led into it. Because what was interesting when I did some of my pre-screenings before I released it
Yeah.
was that as I talked to the people who had watched it, the impressions that they had and what they felt what was going on with
Sure.
the
Yeah.
film were wildly different.
That's experimental film, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
that said, there's an underlying emotion that's being conveyed. If it's just like randomness and there's nothing there, then people can sense that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, but you're sensing some sort of there is a structure in the storytelling, like what I'm trying
Yes,
to say, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Because that's the misconception. If there isn't, then it's just nonsense.
Right. And that's what I was trying to create a narrative, but I
Yeah.
was trying to create a narrative using pieces pulled from various different spots and making those pieces fit into a narrative
Yeah.
without telling you what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you did a very good job.
Well, thank you.
And then the last part is that you're in a bookstore or in the store and yeah, and mask and naked woman with who are painted and
Well, the actually the person wearing the mask,
yeah,
along with the long nose, is the same person who was the dancer in the pre before.
okay. That makes sense. Sounds like it looks like a pretty crazy store. Like it's just like the bookstore. Like it seems like
Well,
it's
that he has been working that bookstore for decades.
who's that?
Jim Reed,
The guy he
who
owns the store or
he owns the store. It's Reed's book. Reed books.
he buys
And
and sells? Like
and
it's
it is a cultural icon itself in Birmingham.
does he know like it seems like organized, disorganized. Like it's like there seems talk about structure. There seems to be a structure in the bookstore, but
Uh-huh.
it seems disorganized at the same time.
Yes. Well, that is to an extent. I mean, really, the bookstore fits in very well with a lot of the stuff that you see in East Village Arts. And
Yeah,
Birmingham has its own little way of doing things, but Birmingham's one of those places that you have to know somebody to know what's going on.
yeah,
It's kind of it's getting better. I think Birmingham now on the which is kind of like a kind of a quasi news, independent news thing that
yeah.
does a lot of stuff over the internet is starting to be able to talk about a lot of these things right now. So a lot of it's kind of coming out of the shadows, I guess, within Birmingham
Well, I'm
as
glad
we're
you can
getting into
keep
greater
going.
consciousness.
Those kind of bookstores where there was a few of them in Toronto. They're gone now in the last
Yeah,
like 10
they're
years.
gone. I used to see them a lot more in the past, and they
Yeah.
have disappeared as bookstores became more corporate.
And is that your son at the end
Um, let's
in,
see.
in
Let me
the
think
painted
about
in gold,
the what
carrying
now?
the stuffed animal?
Yes, that is him also, and that was back at the 2018 uh, uh, piece that was
Okay.
done.
Okay.
That was actually shot at the same time as the first piece in the pre before.
And your wife is okay painting your son in
Do
gold?
what now?
Your wife was okay painting your son in gold?
She didn't do it. She wasn't actually there for the performance at
Well, that's
that
what I
time.
mean, but she was okay with like that because I'm just
Oh well, I mean, she found out when she saw the film. Yeah.
okay, that's one way to do it. Yeah. No, I just know, like it's the reactions. It's like because if I don't think I want my kid in the gold. I'd be pretty mad.
Well, I mean, it was something he wanted to do. They've already
Yeah,
performed together. It's not like these were strangers or anything.
yeah,
We'd gotten together. I first met her over at LaDonna's house, and we did like an improvisation, and my son was there.
yeah,
And she became enamored with him and some of the stuff that he was doing. So they did several performances before. And she came up to me during the event and asked if it would be okay if she just did body paint, kind of top nudity and stuff like that, which is body paint. And I
yeah.
just didn't think anything of it.
Cool.
I've been around the arts for so long. I mean, I used to live in Hawaii. I don't know if you've ever been to Hawaii on the Big Island, but I mean, there was like a closed optional beach that was around there, and it's like there's a community beach. So you basically go out there and toss your clothes and you go out swim and hang around with friends, and you just
Yeah,
nobody ever thinks anything of it. So it's just never been like an issue.
yeah, cool. So footage shot between 2007, 2024, improvisational music. So this is kind of a couple decades or a few decades long
Hmm.
of to put it all together, I guess, right?
Right.
That's
But
cool.
that's kind of again like when you're creating a piece of art and you're pulling from different time periods
Yeah,
and different imagery and stuff like that. It's the same kind of thing as you're putting it together in a completely different uh, realm from what it was originally created or
yeah.
was how it was originally created.
So is your son going to get into filmmaking as well?
He's 18. It's the time of changing hats. They try on a hat for this, they try on a hat for that, and they keep going trying on hats and they find what sticks.
Or they
So
keep trying
he's
hats forever? That's what makes the most
right.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean he has experience in being a pilot. He's already got his solo license.
Oh,
He's been
wow.
working in a body shop. So he's into that. When we was young, he'd bike 200 miles from Anniston to Atlanta and back before he was in kindergarten on his own 6-speed bike.
Yeah, you
You
can't do
know,
that now. Maybe you can, but
well, it was a trail.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
it's
So,
still good. Still, like, 'cause, yeah, when I was 5, I was walking to school every day by myself.
uh-huh.
It's like almost impossible now, right? So,
Well, I don't know. I mean, actually, what I've seen is the opposite. Is that the community I lived in, we were the only ones doing it, cycling
yeah.
around there. Everybody else was in their cars. Now you see kids all over the place
Oh,
with
I
like,
love it.
but it's all with little electric toys.
Yeah,
But they're
I get
going
it.
back and forth across the highway, going over to businesses, going to the parks. It's opened up. It's actually
It's good.
expanded. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we're going full circle in a lot of ways, I
Uh
guess.
huh.
I like it. Okay, so the film's done. I'm assuming you're working on something else now?
I do. I do have a new project, and it's actually crazier than this one. The project I'm working on, I've got a friend of mine who created a filmmaking card game. And so one of the things I'm trying to do is to meet with people as I'm traveling and kind of showcasing the film. I'm meeting people and sometimes playing the game with them.
Like, what's the
And
game? Can you play?
it's
Can we
it's a
play here?
filmmaking game. It's a filmmaking card game. So trying to go through all the parameters of it is probably would not be incredibly exciting, but
Okay.
the goal is by using the randomness of cards and the positioning of it, you basically start talking about and creating the film from, beginning, middle,
Oh, so it's
end,
more of a story,
characters.
more of a story thing, like a storytelling.
Right. So you're
Yeah.
creating a story. It's
Yeah.
almost like for script writing in a
Yeah.
way. But you're creating the story, you're developing the characters, you're talking about like, how it all goes. And each time you throw a card, it throws in a different parameter that you've got to fit into what you were talking about. And it goes through lots of different directions with the people you're in until all of a sudden you find something and then people just start running with it. And then once you start doing that and the ideas start to flow, the next step is once you've kind of got an idea of how the film starts, where how it the things that catalyze things, and of course
Yeah.
how it ends, and all the things along those lines. Then I say, okay, let's pick a scene out of this potential film, and we discuss what that particular scene would look like, and then we go shoot it. And so I start taking now. Of course, they are free to continue to go on and create the entire film if they wanted to at this point. But all I want is a scene. And then I'm going to start taking these collections of scenes and hopefully have enough raw footage that I can pull parts of the scene or stuff like that out of it if I need to, and just use these parts to be able to create maybe a short, maybe a feature out of the whole thing. But you'd have two different segments to it. One would be the piece of art that is created from the various different random scenes made from random cards, from random people that you may meet along the line, or random directors. And then you've got the finished pieces and the process of playing the card game and how they were discussing it and stuff along those lines. And then you've got the other piece, which kind of like the Encarne trilogy is basically putting together lots of different things and creating a separate story altogether out of it.
So it's sort of like the choose your own adventure books that I read back in the day.
Oh,
You
tell
ever
me. I
heard
bet I
those?
don't know, but go
Where
ahead.
you basically there's a book and then you would decide what are you going to do with that character. So you have like you have choices with the character, and
Huh?
then you would flip it, and then it would tell you where it would give you a different ending or a different beginning, right? You never heard
Right.
of choose your own adventure?
It's kind of like a choose your own adventure,
And-
except
But
you're
a
doing the creating.
but a cross between but a cross between those 48-hour film challenges that people do.
Kind of. I mean, just for a scene.
No, no, but it
Yeah,
kind
I
of, kind of
mean,
reminds
I
me of
like
that, where like we're meaning that like it's like choose your own adventure meets 48-hour film challenge, where people don't know 48 film challenges that they give them, you get three props, I guess, right?
right. Yeah,
And you
yeah.
have to, it has to be about certain things, and
Uh-huh.
then you have to go out and shoot it in 2 days, right?
Right, yes.
Shoot, edit it, get everything done in 2 days, and then you got your film. So it's kind of almost like that in a sense, where like you're kind of creating something through randomness,
Uh-huh.
but then the randomness is becoming a structure, I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. So yeah, it is actually a little bit like that. But instead of creating the whole little short piece, you're just actually creating a scene,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it sounds like
which is a little easier.
and then you're going to record the film, the setup of the cards, and then record, then basically show the videos that have been done by the various filmmakers.
Well, yes, but there'll be two separate pieces. It'll be
Yeah.
almost like a documentary
Yeah,
of each
exactly.
individual segment that as part of
Yeah.
this particular film.
And the execution of those ideas, I guess, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right, I want to
That's the
see
idea
that.
right now. Who knows where it's going to go?
All right. But when it's done, I
But
want to see it. So basically send it my way when it's done.
I, hopefully I'll get it done within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. Don't worry.
I've gotten one scene in so far. We did in London. I was at a hostel and I found some people that wanted to play it, and so that was the first start of it when I was for a film festival there, and I was hoping to do it when I was in Barcelona, but they had a drinking game scheduled over at the hostel, and they were not giving that away.
No, they're not drinking game hostel when it comes to hand in hand, right? So yeah. You're exciting guy, man. I did the hostel thing in my early 20s. I don't
Yeah.
think I could do it again. I'm too spoiled.
Well, here's the thing: is that a lot of the hostels now have pods. So they are literally, it's kind of like you're still in a room full of a lot of people, but you have your individual pods and you've got a curtain kind of separating yourself from that, but the rest of it's kind of closed off. So you get a sense of privacy. People tend to be quieter in there and oftentimes a bit older, because a lot of the younger people all just get together in a shared room and they don't think anything of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But
it's a lot
no
nicer.
room service though, right? No maid service in the morning either. So
Well, they kind of do have someone who comes and cleans up once a day. So, I mean, otherwise it'd be a
yeah,
disaster.
yeah, exactly. All right, man. Thank you so much for your candor. I appreciate your time. I'd like to see the next film. Congratulations on this one. And let's talk again when you make your next film.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.